Many of us, at some point or the other, especially during our secondary school days, must have heard the story of this legendary ghost lady who usually walked around the school premises in her unique red high heels. This lady was known to walk around the school premises, especially the hostel areas, at the early hours of the morning or at the late hours of the night. She was also known to torture, hunt, or even kill any student that fell victim to her. I'm Luwini, and welcome to Stories, Legends, and Myths, where we share stories, folklores, and mysteries that are of African origin. If you're new here, welcome, and please feel free to hit the subscribe button and click on that notification bell so that you won't miss any stories that I'll share on my channel at any point in time. The lady we introduced earlier on in this video is no other than the legendary Miss Koi Koi. Miss Koi Koi is actually one of those many spirits or many mysteries that haunt boarding schools or boarding school areas. This lady is said to walk around the dormitories in her red high heels. She usually wears a signature red high heels, and she's heard usually at night making this koi 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 sound. Whether this lady was a real person or not is highly debated today and is highly disputed today. But we all know that she lives in the minds and in the hearts of almost everyone that attended a boarding school. Her story was passed down from one boarder to another, and actually it quite makes sense since there were mysterious happenings and mysterious things or deaths or apparitions. Well, there are three stories about this lady and her life before she became what she became. These three stories are different and quite off from each other, but they all share some things in common. One, she was a very beautiful young lady. Two, she taught in a secondary school. And three, she was actually known by her signature red high heels. These are the things that these stories have in common, but aside that, they vary really differently. The first story states that she was this beautiful teacher that everyone knew in the school because she was popular and she actually wears red high heels. She's cute, but that she was very wicked and actually was a sadist. She enjoyed inflicting pain on students, especially the students in her class, and this was becoming too much. It was so much. But one day everything came to an end when she actually hit a student. I don't know whether it was a female student or a male student, but she actually hit the student and severely injured that student. The school authority had enough of her excesses and decided that it was time to actually send this teacher away. And being mad that she has been sent away, you understand, like she was just laid off like that. A very wonderful, beautiful young lady like that was just sent out by a school that she believed didn't know her value. She became very upset and very bitter. And out of that anger and everything, she just dashed out of the school and was rushing home. And along the line, she had an accident. She was involved in an accident, and while she was taking her last breath, or while she was about to die, she actually caused the school that she would haunt their students forever, and she would haunt the school forever and continue the suffering and the pain and the torture. She actually stopped. You understand? And that was actually how the first story went. Now the second story is quite different from this one, but they also tell similar things, like her being wicked, and she's this beautiful lady and this gallant lady, but she was actually wicked. The only difference was that, unlike the first story where the school authority actually took responsibilities and did the right thing, this time around the school authorities were not doing anything. Nobody knows why or how this thing came to be, but the school authorities were not doing anything and the students became fed up. It is noted that most of those students were actually boarders. They were boarding school students. So as a one-time boarder, I know that there is actually this particular teacher that can be very wicked and overbearing, and it doesn't just end in class. This teacher can also come and disturb in the hostel and things like that, especially when he or she is on night duty. So students were fed up because the school wasn't actually giving them a listening ear. The school wasn't actually taking into account whatever they were pleading about or whatever they were agitating about. So they decided to take laws into their hands. And what did they do? They decided to beat this woman up. So one day she was done with work and she was going back to wherever she lived, and these students like circled her and they began to beat her and they gagged her, and in the process of beating her up, she died. Whether they planned to beat her till death or whether they actually just wanted to beat her up is still not known. The agenda of everything is not known, but the bottom line of the whole thing was that she died as a result of the beatings. So the students, being afraid of being caught or something like that, decided that they needed to get rid of this body, so they threw her body over the fence and things like that. And it was noted that before she died, like, a student actually hit her with those her red high heels. She was on her red high heels on that particular day, so one of the students that was involved in the beating actually took it and beat her and struck on the head, and I guess that's what like gave the final blow, and she died. So this lady, you understand, she died, and her spirit was not having that rest. She couldn't maybe cross over to the other side, or she was very bitter and very unhappy with whatever that played out. And so what did she decide to do? She decided to take vengeance on her killers, and one after the other she came and started taking them. And one of the people who maybe she didn't kill or who died later or was alive to tell the story actually told others what they had done and why it seems that this lady was coming to their school and coming at night and killing anybody that she felt that was responsible for her death. And since then she hasn't stopped. She still goes around schools. Maybe she hasn't gotten all her killers or something like that, but she still goes from school to school or from place to place, either to find their descendants or to find those people. But if you're a student and you're a reporter, you're in deep shit, because this lady doesn't want to know. Her goal or her mission is actually to kill any boarding school student, especially if she feels that that person is responsible for her death at some point or another. And that's the second story. Now the third story is quite, will I say, it quite paints a good picture of this lady. It doesn't paint her in a bad light. Actually, it actually says that this lady, as usual, is beautiful, is a teacher in a secondary school, she wears red high heels, but she was actually trying to discipline the children. She wasn't being wicked to them, she was actually trying to discipline them. Well, the bottom line of the whole thing was that these children were not willing to change. They were not willing to be better. They were not willing to stop their bad habits, and actually they actually caused her a lot of distress instead. So one day, one wonderful day, like, one of these students actually did something, and she began to chase him or her because she wanted to get that person and discipline that person. But along the line, this student, being very rebellious, decided to run, and she chased him. As I said earlier, she chased him, and along the line, while chasing him, he crossed the road, or she crossed the road, and she followed suit. But unfortunately for her, this car hit her and she died instantly on the spot. And it was said that the shoe that she was holding, which was her red high heels, was, you understand, thrown off her hand since she was hit on impact. And since then she has been hunting boarding schools in search of that shoe. She's been looking for that shoe over and over. Well, I know some of us might be asking, this lady, is she really real? Does she still hunt or torment boarding schools today? And all the stories about her, are they true? The answer is, we are not sure. We don't really know for real. Many people have different encounters with this lady. Some people have actually said that they felt her presence and they actually know that she's out there, while some of us, well, we've heard the story, but we didn't really experience her, or we didn't really see her. And I'm one of such people. I haven't really experienced or seen her in action or anything. My school didn't really have much creepy stuff, and that was a plus for us. Well, that would do that today, guys. have you heard any stories about this lady, or do you know any more stories about this lady that I didn't share? Please feel free to tell me in the comment section. And is there anything I'm missing? Is she real or not? Please also tell me in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. So once again, this is Stories, Legends and Myths, where we share stories, folklores and mysteries that are of African origin. Please subscribe and like this video. Honestly, it's important. It gives me motivation and it gives me joy to put things like this out there. So till I see you same time next week, please do have a wonderful day, and once again, happy new year. Enjoy the rest of the year and stay out of trouble.